And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today's video will be Music Teacher Reacts. Today, specifically, we're going to be looking at Disturbed's version of The Sound of Silence. Now, if you're familiar with this song at all before, this is a original work by Simon and Garfunkel. And then Disturbed came along and they decided to do a cover of it. Their cover, however, is vastly different than the original by Simon and Garfunkel. This is a bit of a classic one. It's been out for quite a few years now. I have heard this before. Doesn't mean that I still don't love the song, though. Let's go ahead and get into it, folks, and see what we got here. I love that they're starting with silence. That's a great effect. I love that tone.
I've come to talk with you again.
It's just very sultry.
Because a vision softly creeping left its scenes while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Okay, a couple things with this. One, it's beautiful opening. Man, his voice, it's so clear and resonant down in the lower registers. I really love it. There's two things, though, that I love that are happening in this song here. One, he gives a little bit of kind of a nasally sound. He kind of resonates on nasal sounds at certain points when he's singing. So he has obviously the ability to not sing with a nasal sound, because there's times when he's not and he sounds absolutely incredible. But it's clearly something he's doing intentionally. And I think that's just to try to give it some of that extra graveliness is the way I would describe it. I mentioned earlier it sounds very sultry. So voices can be very different levels of tonality. And I think because this is a song that is a little bit more intense and a little bit on the darker side is the way I would describe it. I think that he intentionally wants some of that graveliness and some of that nasal resonance that goes along with it. The other thing that's really cool is I love how they just linger at the end of a phrase on this dissonant note that they have here. Let's go back and take a listen to that. I'm going to point out where that is. It's a really cool effect. We'll start right about here. Right there. How they just hold it.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It really kind of reinforces the darkness, essentially. So your lack of comfort in music, any length of time without sound it feels awkward, especially if it's prolonged. And that chord there, that dissonance that they're holding it just a little bit longer than what you might want it to be held. And so it's making you just a hair uncomfortable. And that's so well done. It's so effective in terms of just making you really, really, really want to resolve into the next part of the song. It's really well done. Let's keep going.
I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its scenes while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain.
So you can hear right now, there's no nasal quality at all. It's very clean tone, especially there. You can hear on the N, on the N's in particular, he really pushes that up into the nasal cavity. Part of that's just because of what you have to do with certain consonant sounds. But again, I think it's a little bit intentional. He's really, really pushing it forward in his vocal cavities for that. Let's keep going.
narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp.
I love the addition of the guitar through here.
I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound.
And again, they just
Silence.
linger just a little bit on that chord.
And in the naked light I saw.
Oh man, and now he's really going to open up, and we really get the full spectrum of his voice. And I know there's more yet to come. Oh, I can't wait for it. But man, we really start to hear the full gravitas that he has in his voice here. It just opens up, and it's so beautiful. Let's keep going with this, guys. It's great.
10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking.
Up in that head voice.
People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share.
The range that he is singing right now, folks, is absurd. Like, for him to be able to switch from that low, gravelly tone that he had at the beginning to this beautiful, sonorous upper register in his head voice, man, it is so impressive. I wish I had the vocal chops that this guy does. I've sung the song so many times, and I can't get that. I wish I could. He has such an incredible voice. Let's get more. I want to listen to more. It's so good.
And no one dared disturb the sound of silence.
I love the acoustic guitar in this.
Fool said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you.
The use of the suspended cymbal through this is really, really effective too. It's something that's easy to miss if you're not really well versed in how orchestrations work and everything. When you get to these really emotionally climactic points and you really want to hammer home that crescendo that's going on, you add that suspended cymbal part to it. So if you guys are kind of feeling this just rush of like exciting sound that's coming out of nowhere, if you listen, that's that suspended cymbal roll that's going on here. Let's go ahead backtrack just a little bit so you guys can hear some of that suspended cymbal. It adds such a nice effect to what we're looking for here emotionally.
Hear my words that I might teach
Right there.
Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops fell.
So now I think that's interesting. So before, when he was singing in the same register here in the earlier section, but his tone was very, very clean and pure. Now we get to this section and he switches it over. So he's still kind of in his chest voice and adds some throatiness to it. And again, that's an intentional choice, just similar to how he was using a lot of nasal sound in his ends in his sound when he was singing. You can definitely hear that there's some intentional change in style and tone quality that he's using when he's singing. So again, let's just backtrack just a little bit and listen to, again, that kind of throaty, grovelly sound that he uses here. It's kind of just like anger. It expresses anger.
But my words, like silent raindrops fell and echoed in the wells.
Versus now, that's super clean.
And the people bowing
Again, really grovelly.
to the neon god they met.
So it's clearly being used intentionally, and I think it's just expressing that anger. You can if you follow the lyrics here, you can see that there's just a lot of anger and frustration, and that style of vocal singing really hammers home that effect. It's kind of the equivalent of, so for instance, we talked about a suspended cymbal before. It'd be like using a suspended cymbal versus a hi hat. Like a hi hat is great for keeping rhythm and keeping your pulse throughout the song, but it's not going to have as much of that emotional impact as what suspended cymbals can have. And his voice, he's using his voice in the same way here. He has his really clean head voice tone when he's singing in a more lyrical, not as angry as an aggressive section of the song. But now that he's really getting into it, he's really just kind of, airing all of his grievances in terms of the lyrics and the point of the song here. He really switches that tone quality over and that style over. It is so effective. Let alone, let's not even talk about the fact that it's ridiculously hard to do. Like, that's a whole nother fact. Like, I don't know how he does this. How do you switch your voice tone like that and still sound amazing? Let's go back a little bit and just listen to some more of that real quick.
To the neon god they met.
Just the intensity.
And the sign flashed out its warning, and the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls.
I love the lyrics in this song too.
Whispered in the sound.
So notice again, his tone quality changed. So we've kind of gone into our climax of the piece, and we're now starting to get to kind of the epilogue, is what we'll call it here. And his tone, along with his dynamics, changes. Especially, and again, the lyrics are so well done, and that's typical of Simon and Garfunkel. They're so expressive, and they're so well suited to what's going on here. When he talks about "and whispered in the sound of silence," those are all words that convey a softer, much more subtle tone. And he switches it. He goes from that really grovelly, aggressive tone quality of his voice to a really clean, clear head voice here.
And whispered in the sound of silence.
I love that they have that, again, that moment of silence. Now there's obviously a lot of reverb in there, and that's intentional. It's done in the post production to get all that extra reverb to it, but it really allows you as the listener to kind of soak it in and feel that resonance, that from the message as well as the singing that they have there. It's so well done. It's probably I love when he really goes hard and he has that grovelly aggressiveness. That's really cool. But this might be my favorite point because it just really hammers home the message. And I don't know about you guys, but I get goosebumps every time we get to that section. I get goosebumps. It's so cool.
Of silence.
I love that they end with the arpeggios there, kind of outlining our chords and our final sentiment. But I also really love that they end with a rallentando, just to give it the kind of this nice sense of finality at the end of it. A rallentando, FYI, if you guys don't know what that means basically to slow down. So you can hear that the music starts to settle in, is the way we would describe it. Just settles into a nice, comfortable landing here at the end with that rallentando. Let's listen to that one more time there. Actually, a little further back. And then again, they end it with that little extra reverb at the end there too, which is so great. Again, I just love that they allow that space for the sound to resonate. Even though it's silence, it's supposed to be silence at that point. You're hearing that resonance from before. Just a really cool song. Really well done. I absolutely love it. It is a classic, folks. If you have not heard this song before, get on it ASAP. It is amazing. It is such a good song. Again, that is Disturbed's version of The Sound of Silence. I'd recommend you check out the original by Simon and Garfunkel too, just so you can kind of hear the original versus the cover and how drastically different they are. It's really, really neat. All right, folks, so that'll pretty much wrap us up for today. If you liked what you saw today, make sure you give me a like and also subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any more of our Music Teacher Reacts videos that we got here. Last but not least, if you would like to have some input in what we do next, feel free to leave a comment in the comments section below. Also, we do a live poll on Twitch where we decide what songs that we are doing for the week. So if you'd like to have kind of an input in the final say on what songs we do, join us over on Twitch as well. You'll have the links for Twitch as well as Discord in the video description below. With that being said, everybody, catch you next time.